Hello and welcome back to another video. Today going to be taking a very first look at the brand new Gran Turismo 7 trailer, the release date trailer because it gave us a date at the end, which was shown in the PlayStation Showcase event last night. So I have watched this a couple of times, but I'm going to run you through quickly what's in it. We see a number of Porsches at the beginning, and then I will go into more depth some of the things I've noticed playing it back a few times, some of the cars shown, other details, and of course the date. But yeah, we'll run through it first of all with it playing in the background, and I'll run you through what's there. We've got the Tom Supra returning, obviously some of our classic Gran Turismo introduction going on here, classic Gran Turismo music playing. We see the logo appear, and then we get onto the sort of area you would guess would be Escape's location. We see a Supra, of course we do, the 917 Living Legend, which we did see earlier amongst the other classic Porsche racing cars. So this is quite a big feature of this trailer, this Porsche. Obviously we have the focus on Toyota, which isn't that surprising because Gran Turismo have been adding random Toyotas for years. But the focus on Porsche as well is quite interesting. There we see the GR86, the Vision Gran Turismo cars, 4 of them, a couple of Group C cars there, the sort of FXXK interior, I think is what that is. The sort of classic UI map home screen livery editor, looks very similar to how it did in Sport. Obviously some Group 3 racing, a big part of Sport. Escape's locations, I think there are some new ones in there. Little MX-5, but yeah, in amongst the other ones. Supra, you might notice, has a custom wing on the back. Loads of other cars in car storage, collection of Skylines there, and obviously our classic Japanese cars racing. We see a quick glimpse of some of the circuits as well, Laguna Seca, some of the rally ones, Le Mans returning, the upgrade shop with visual customization, which is really cool. That's unusual for a Gran Turismo game. We see some footage of gameplay, but I'll be honest, a lot of it looks very similar to Sport. The only thing you might notice is there was wet weather in that race, and you can see a little rain indicator thing in the bottom corner with a number, which kind of tells you how much rain there was. Now, there was no weather in launch in Sport, so that's quite interesting. We see some of these GT500, Super GT style cars racing, some GR Super Rally, GR Yaris's rallying. The Vision Gran Turismo Lamborghini finally shown, so hopefully we will be getting that in 7. We never had it come to Sport. Some Jeeps rallying, which is going to be great fun. Obviously your classic Tokyo stages with Japanese cars. A few more classics. There was actually a GT40 in the back of shot there. And yeah, your GT3 cars racing around Le Mans. And then we get our release date, 4th of March 2022. So that gives you a very quick first run through of the trailer as it's playing there. So if you haven't seen it, I hope that was exciting. It's quite good to see one that's been a long while since the previous trailer. And of course we get a launch date, which is brilliant. But anyway, let's go into a little bit more depth, slow it down a bit, take a bit more of a look at some of what was shown there, because the first time you see it, it's all quite fast, it's all quite exciting, you miss quite a lot. So yeah, it does focus on a lot of Porsches and Toyotas. The Porsches are an interesting element. I'm not sure how they chose that. They're always quite closely linked with Toyotas. They were the only game that had them for a long time. There must have been some kind of exclusive deal, whatever Toyota liked to say about street racing. So yeah, Toyotas did eventually come to other games, but for ages they were just in sports, and Gran Turismo Sport always gets them very early and gets every model year of Supra and GR model. Anyway, that's not surprising, but the addition of Porsche was quite interesting. So yeah, in that opening shot, we saw the Porsche 919, I think it is, the Le Mans car. Then we've got the 962, the Group C car. The 917 Living Legend, which was quite a feature of this trailer. No, it's not a Vision Gran Turismo car, but it is a cool concept car of sort of modern take on the 917. Then we have the 917 itself and the 911 RSR in that first shot. We then, not long after that, see the Tom Supra and the normal Supra, as well as a GR86, a CLK LM or GT, I think it was the Le Mans one, which it was converted into later. FXXK, I think that was the interior from one of those. we've got your usual GT3 cars, Huracan, Porsche, Mark 1 MX-5 shown in Scapes, the new Supra shown with an interesting wing on the back, which is very cool. And then we see a shot of the sort of garage screen almost, where you've got the Plymouth Gear, the 356 Coupe, the Shelby GT500, 350, sorry, and the Datamasso Mangusta, which is new. I don't know, it might be returning from an older... It wasn't in Sport anyway, and we've not seen confirmation of that coming to this game yet, so that's very interesting. The Supra Gt500 is also shown on this screen, which is the Tom's one from earlier, effectively a Super GT car. I did spot an 05 Ford GT shown as your current car in one of the pages, which, again, I love that car, it'd be cool to see it return. We see a DB5 and a Jeep in the car storage unit, and a few cars under covers, which, if you know what they are, do let me know in the comments, because I'm just trying to... wasn't sure if that was a Cobra, but I didn't think it quite was on the top shelf there, so... yeah, let me know if you think you've figured out what any of those are. But yeah, the DB5 and the Jeep the Jeep was quite a cool, sort of very different thing to throw in there. Very Gran Turismo type thing to do. There's the Alfa Romeo, I think, in there, the vintage Alfa Romeo from the previous trailer. The whole family of Skylines shown, which you kind of expect from Gran Turismo. And then you've got Evos, RX-7s, all those JDM sort of things. And I'm sure many other cars hidden in amongst there. It is amazing how many cars they can cram into a trailer that's less than 4 minutes long. And yes, a lot of them are carried forward from Sport, which is no surprise. But good to see some fan favourites in there, as well as some new stuff, some quite interesting stuff. There was a whole range of Vision GT cars. There was a Lamborghini, the new Jag, the Mercedes, and I believe the Aston Martin is the furthest one in that shot. I'm not quite sure, it looks slightly odd from that angle. But yeah, not surprised about the amount of Toyotas. The focus on Porsche is interesting. A few other things mixed in there. I think that's quite a good start to the cars. So yeah, that's the cars. That's the important bit. On to some more general thoughts after seeing the trailer. So some elements to me felt a lot like they were copied forward from Sport. I mean, it's potentially not the final version, so some things might change, I guess, but I don't think they would put it in the trailer unless it was going to be in the game. Yeah, it was an interesting mixture. Some things felt like they were copied from Sport, some things felt like they were trying to go back to the older Gran Turismos, which makes sense, because Gran Turismo Sport was not Gran Turismo 7, it wasn't a Gran Turismo 6 sequel, so this is the sequel to 6, effectively, but taking some of the stuff they've learnt from Sport, which was in fact the only not the only PS4 generation game, because this is coming to PS4, but anyway. So yeah, things like the Scapes mode and the livery editor look identical to GT Sport. That's no problem, they worked in GT Sport, there's no reason to change something if it's not broken. Yeah, it was a good system. I love how in livery editor on GT Sport you can mirror things without them flipping the wrong way. It's so helpful, so you can make sponsors match from side to side, which is something I always find annoying in games like Forza, so that's really cool. The system in there, but that was in there from Sport, so good to see it return. Some of the menu UI feels a little bit like Sport. The race UI, I'm pretty sure, is identical to Sport, apart from the addition of the little rain monitor thing there that tells you, I think, the strength of the rain on the course, which is interesting. Good to see weather from day one, because it wasn't in Sport, believe it or not. The in-depth upgrade shop feels new, but it's sort of going back to that GT6 style. But new, obviously, we didn't have quite that level of stuff in Sport. We definitely didn't have visual mods. I don't think we had them to that level in any games. We used to have these sort of default different wings you could add. But this has some very interesting wings, wheels, and aero parts we saw on the back of the Supra there. So that's quite a cool element to add. We've got a lot more visual customization than previously, which has never really been a big part of Gran Turismo, so I don't think people would complain that it wasn't there, but it was always something that was kind of missing from Gran Turismo. There wasn't loads you could do with your cars, even to the level that Forza allows, for example, which is probably their main rival. So that's cool to see. Yeah, we did see the glimpse of the wing on the Supra before, which gave us a clue to that, and I think the Skyline in the garage had aftermarket wheels. So yeah, good to see that sort of thing return, making it, just adding to that feeling of it being more like a classic Gran Turismo, like 4 or 5 or 6. less like, well, getting all the good bits from Sport, but going back to those old games, because a lot of people that were fans of the old franchise didn't get on with Sport after playing the previous ones because it was such a departure from that style. So it's nice to see them going back in that direction. Obviously, the UI of the home screen is trying to hark back to GT4, which is the one a lot of people love and have memories of. So yeah, that's an interesting style, and it looks quite cool. Where it almost feels as if you travel to different locations, even though you don't drive from one to the other. Going out of there and moving about the map and choosing the location you want to go to was always a really cool feature, especially in those older games when open world wasn't particularly a thing back then, apart from Test Drive maybe. But anyway, yeah, that was always a really cool feeling, being able to move to the different locations. Like I said, rain and weather was shown, which is good to see at launch. It came really late to GT Sport and only to a couple of tracks, so they really didn't do that very well. I guess they were kind of almost testing for this game at that point. But it's good to see it. It was at Tsukuba, I think, in this trailer that was shown rain, and a little rain indicator showed 100, I think, and then it later showed 0 when it wasn't raining. So that's a cool little thing. I love that little tiny bit of UI that they've added. Another big thing is the performance point system is returning from GT6, for example, and they seem to have dropped the class system, so no N100, 200, 300, GR4, GR3, which is slightly odd to me, because if they're going to try and add a sport mode, which they showed in the previous trailer, they kind of need a GR4 mode, GR3, if they're going to do GT3 style racing, rather than a PP performance point system. But yeah, it works better, I think, for the road cars, but not necessarily for the race cars. So I was expecting a mixture of the two, but there's no sign of the previous class system at all. I didn't notice in that trailer. I might just be completely missing it, but yeah, I thought that was a little bit odd. But yeah, I'm happy to go back to that system. It works better for road cars if you're going with the sort of custom upgraded road cars going into online open lobby type things like we did on 6, so that's kind of cool to see. And yeah, the release date will be 4th of March 2022, which is less than 6 months away. I wasn't expecting it to be that soon, so it's obviously after Forza Horizon 5, which I'll be playing for quite a bit. But then, yeah, this comes out in March. And it's perfect. It's just between that and Test Drive, which is the other game I'm really looking forward to next year. But yeah, less than 6 months on PS4 and PS5, which we did already know from recently. That was confirmed, which is brilliant because you can't get a PS5 anywhere in the world without paying thousands and thousands of monies in whatever currency you're in. So yeah, it's impossible to get hold of one, so really pleased to see it come to PS4. Which is probably the platform I'll be getting it on, because there's no sign of getting a PS5 anytime soon. But yeah, that's good to see, which means there will in fact be a Gran Turismo title on PS4. Yes, we had Sport and then this, but this will be the only sort of traditional GT game on the PS4. Was always a bit of a weird decision to me that they put 6 on PS3 only. Anyway, yeah, good to see it come to PS4, which means I can, of course, get a hold of it. And like I say, less than 6 months to go until it's out. So yeah, I very much look forward to hearing more. Hopefully they do stick to that date. Apparently, Polyphony have a history of not meeting launch dates and delaying it, so it could potentially be longer than that. But yeah, the possibility of having a new Gran Turismo game in less than 6 months is brilliant, and it's so good to see another trailer. It's been a long time since the first one we saw for 7, effectively. But yeah, I hope this trailer's got you guys excited as much as it has me, and yeah, as always, I look forward to hearing more, and hopefully seeing more trailers and stuff like that soon. But that is going to be all for today's video, taking my very first look at the Gran Turismo 7 trailer, the brand new release date one, and giving my first thoughts on that. But that is going to be all for today's video, so thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next video very soon.